Now, the general weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan coming to you from the National Weather Service in Alaska region. And this is Alaska weather on this Saturday, October 25th, 2025. And in the weather-related headlines across the state of Alaska, we're going to see the storm track become a bit more active for next week as things kind of realign and some energy that's currently over the Bering Sea slides southeastward across the eastern Aleutians, lower Alaska Peninsula. Early in the week ahead, links up with other energy coming up out of the North Pacific in a variety of locations. So there will be the potential for multiple systems starting on Tuesday into the end of next week up through Halloween to impact especially the panhandle northeastern Gulf Coast with strong winds and some heavier precipitation. As this all unfolds, the northeast northerly winds on the backside of this larger area circulation of low pressure over the Gulf is going to help really cool down the mainland interior and the west coast. So we're going to see temperatures further cool, turning seasonably colder as we head into early November. And on an astronomical note, sky watching, the waxing crescent moon through this weekend. First quarter moon happens on Wednesday next weak. And there is a weak coronal mass ejection heading toward Earth that could trigger a minor geomagnetic storm and perhaps enhance some of the higher latitude auroras as we go, especially into Sunday night time frame. So if you have clear skies, keep your eyes peeled. In the meantime, though, along the YK deltas, we've had a trough of low pressure nudge up along the coast with some lower clouds, fog, even a few light rain, snow showers. Temperature there at Tooksuk Bay, 34 degrees. This location was just pummeled by the remnants of typhoon along a couple of weekends ago with 100-mile-per-hour winds. And that port community there is just continuing to deal with the scope of the disaster and just trying to get people moved out or what repairs that can be made to some of the homes there before winter really sets in. Bethel, low clouds, 28 degrees, so some of that cloudiness is also spread back into the Bethel area where a lot of the recovery operations, where a lot of the flights that are helping aid those efforts originate. And the thing is, as we head through the next several days in the next week, these colder temperatures will allow some of these rivers and certainly pond areas there in the western part of the state to freeze up. Squentna there in the west side of the Susitna Valley, mostly cloudy, 32 degrees. Yesterday on Friday, there was a 4.6 magnitude earthquake near there. Could even feel that in the Anchorage area. And then Klawock, building showers, 44 degrees, and off of the Gulf Coast there. There could even be a rumble of thunder as there's enough instability. You can see the vertical development of these showers indicating there's a fair amount of instability present. Well, the Juneau Forecast Office has issued a special weather statement for the northeastern Gulf Coast and all of the Panhandle. And this is for next week. Starting Tuesday, there's going to be a low come up out of the North Pacific and impact at least the southern half of the Panhandle on Tuesday into Tuesday night. That'll have some stronger winds and some heavier precipitation. And then a series of lows and waves of low pressure are going to push in along the northeastern Gulf Coast and Panhandle the rest of the week. So basically from Tuesday through at least Halloween and probably thereafter, you're going to see one after another weather systems coming up here into southeast Alaska. So this area is going to see some stormier conditions and above normal precipitation. Meanwhile, much of the interior, though there could be some patchy areas of light snow, especially in and around the mountains. Overall, just a cooling trend as we have more in the way of northeast northerly winds along that area of the mainland. So looking at satellite imagery this Saturday afternoon, we still have this low kind of just southwest of the Gulf in the North Pacific, the popcorn cloud showing some showers. Still a few showers out there around Sitka and Prince of Wales Island that linger. And then as we look on back here, a more well-developed low, this is kind of more of the upper feature. Surface low is out here along the far western Bering, just off the Kamchatka coastline there. But that does have showers with it, and here comes the initial trough that's bringing some of that low cloudiness fog to the YK deltas and a few showers. But overall, the pattern is not especially stormy at this time. As we go through the week, it's going to get more active. This energy here over the western northwestern bearing is just going to kind of weaken and slide southeastward, and then it's going to be kind of incorporated into the general storm track as we go through next week. Looking later tonight into Sunday morning, just this lagging low pressure out over North Pacific back through the Gulf, keeping a few scattered lingering showers, especially along the coast parts of the Panhandle. The interior, weak high pressure in the north back to northwest Canada around the Mackenzie River. Still some pockets of light snow or light snow showers, but definitely some colder temperatures. But this is not especially strong high pressure for this time of year. And then here's that low out over the northwest bearing, just west there of St. Lawrence Island. And this energy will be slipping southeastward as the upper level pattern shifts out, but it'll push this trough, this weakening trough, up into at least along the southwest portion of the mainland. And as we go into Sunday, weak low pressure, kind of a secondary weak low there outside of the eastern Kenai, Prince William Sound. Will just keep a few lingering showers going. There could be an isolated rumble of thunder in some of these showers, especially off of the coastline here of the Panhandle. And then back here to the west, we have that low continuing just to gradually to sink southeastward across the bearing, with its trough pushing into the YK deltas with some low cloudiness and a few showers. Into Monday, here's that energy that continues, the low pressure continues to slide southeastward into the southeast quadrant of the bearing, approaching the eastern Aleutians and the southern part of the Alaska Peninsula. Meanwhile, we still just have generally weak high pressure from eastern Russia across northern Alaska up into northern Canada. And if you look down here in the bottom of your screen where I'm standing, that's the next little compact low to come up out of the North Pacific toward Haida Gwaii and the southern Panhandle. That's going to be on Tuesday. So by Tuesday, there's that low with wind and some heavier rain pushing up, especially into the southern and central parts of the Panhandle. And that'll be just the beginning of a series of low pressure waves and areas of low pressure that work up into the Gulf, and all of that moisture and wind and rain is taking aim to this area, the southeast Alaska Panhandle, up through along the northeastern Gulf Coast to outside there of Yakutat. So just be aware, you're going to be entering a more active weather pattern starting Tuesday that'll continue through Halloween and probably into the early start here of November as areas of the west begin to cool down, and at times there will be some breezy conditions along the west coast, mainly a northeast to north wind as that colder air develops and begins to just kind of settle in over the mainland. We are seeing some colder temperatures along the Brooks Range, some single digits, 5, 10 above for Sunday morning. Teens along the Arctic coast, the Beaufort Sea coast. Generally below freezing everywhere with the exception of maybe along the northern Gulf Coast, Seward, Cordova, Valdez, and certainly a little warmer here across the Panhandle. A few areas stopping around 40, especially if you keep some cloud cover. High temperatures Sunday afternoon, generally in the 40s for the Panhandle, mid-40s, Sitka, Craig, Klawock, on over to Ketchikan. Readings probably having a tough time to even hit 40 at Anchorage. And along the Brooks Range, we have highs only like Anatuvik Pass, just 12 above. Highs low mid-20s along the Arctic coast. May squeak out 35 there at Savunga, around 36, Makoriak, and down around places like Kipnik. And then as we trail out along the Alaska Peninsula, still some lower to mid-40s there, eastern Aleutians and around Cold Bay and False Pass. Now a little colder Monday morning. Notice the cold starting to build there, north slope and along the Brooks Range. Could see some temperatures dipping below zero, single digits above or below zero. Along the Alcan border, 15 or so there, Fairbanks, Eagle, Northway. Temperatures again all across much of the mainland below freezing, with the exception of right along the Gulf. And then back through the Panhandle, temperatures near freezing, Skagway, on over toward Petersburg and Juneau, but still near 40, Metlakatla on up to Sitka. And readings in the mid-30s, just above freezing there, eastern Aleutians. Highs Monday afternoon may have to struggle to reach much more than 10 above there along the spine of the Brooks Range, interior north slope. And temperatures upper 30s, 40 at best around Anchorage, Kenai, on over toward Valdez, Cordova. Highs could get back up near 50 degrees on Monday afternoon here for southern parts of the Panhandle. And again, that system coming up from the south on Tuesday will have milder air along with windy and wet conditions, so temperatures could actually rise a bit in the southern Panhandle. And as we look ahead here, so with the pattern that's going to be shaping up in this time frame leading up to Halloween, October 31st into early November, the energy is going to be coming across the Aleutians, North Pacific, up into the Gulf, occasionally some piece of energy coming up from the North Pacific into the Gulf like that. So what that means is temperatures are not going to be pretty close to normal along the eastern mainland and southeast Alaska here to close out the month in the first few days of November, while cooling down here along the west coast, eastern part of the Bering, including the eastern Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula. And then we factor in, yes, we will likely have above normal precipitation over the southeast mainland from maybe as far west to almost Anchorage, the eastern Alaska range, Copper River Basin, all through the Panhandle. It's going to be a wetter pattern, and the areas that are cold enough, that'll be snow. In fact, Anchorage could pick up perhaps some light accumulating snow enough to get on the grass, maybe Monday of next week to start. But with this kind of pattern going into the end of October, early November, the likelihood some areas picking up accumulating snow will be increasing. And then meanwhile, along the west coast with that drier northeast northerly cold flow, the likelihood of below normal precipitation is higher around Norton Sound, the Seward Peninsula, and Kotzebue Sound here for Halloween into the early start of November.